When do you know that you're severing connections? Most likely, you don't even realize that the friendships and relationships and people that you're taking interest in on a romantic level, or just wanting to further your friendship with somebody, you're cutting them off. You're not creating connection, or you're not allowing yourself to be open enough for that connection to be deeper or more personal. When do you say, in your own words, because it's different for everybody, when would you say that you have a best friend? What are the qualifications that come with best friend material? With creating someone who is a complete stranger and turning them into a most cherished and loved family member, or someone who you think is going to be your partner for the rest of your life in romantic settings. What is that threshold and what are the conditions for it? Are you meeting your own conditions and thresholds? Are you creating connection and allowing openness to be there, vulnerability to be there? My conditions, which I believe to be everyone's in some sort of way, give it to a few details, is being able to tell the person that you're trying to create connection with anything. Anything that comes to mind, anything good, anything bad. Maybe something that you're thinking about, that maybe you believe your family may be like, oh, shut this thought down. Don't think about this ever again. Then that's not someone that you would regard as family. And why? Why would your family be the very people that are severing the connection that they have with you and not creating that open conflict, open dialogue with you? What's so wrong about indulging in your fantasies or in your goals or dreams and just believing in you? I have an example. I have a relationship that I'm trying to invest in right now. And unfortunately, they will not be open towards me. They just, either they just grew to harden their heart or they just never learned how to open it up in the first place. So how do I know when this connection that I'm trying to create with this person long term, in just a friendship way, is evolving or is getting into the point that I want? Well, first you have to understand that not everyone wants that same connection, and being a surface level connection is okay. Nothing's wrong with that. In fact, we have more of those than we do not. And it's better to have fewer of those intimate connections with people than to have many. So hot. But when you start to see the situations in where connection is available, deepening the intimacy between you and another person, not just romantically. I know that intimacy sounds like it's a romantic term, but it's not. Intimacy is just closeness. You'll notice that either you or this person is stopping themselves or yourself from creating the connection, creating the intimacy. So an example that I can give is, excuse me, my most recent interaction with this person. They unfortunately had some family emergency, but just coincidentally as well, every time that we decided to meet up or talk, they had a family emergency. Now that I should take into consideration their life and their impact with their connections. Let's say every time that we did decide to meet up and the family emergency or something came up to where it just was in the cards for us to meet or talk. Now, there is no fault of anyone's, but it's how I took it. I took it as a sign of that they don't respect my time, that they don't respect the energy and effort that I set aside in my schedule when they're not doing the same for me. What does that mean? I'm so glad you asked. It means that the person that I was talking to is not trying to create a deeper connection unintentionally. So it's not like they're forcefully trying to cancel plans or forcefully trying to sever the connection of intimacy in general. It's the fact that they're not reopening that door. They're just saying, oh, I can't do it today. Sorry. in order to keep that door open of intimacy, you would reschedule the day, right? Or you would try to open that door that you're trying to get through. You would try to create the closeness. So, another example is, let's say I ask you a question. I'm going to ask you a question right now. And notice how you respond. Notice what thoughts come up, what you feel, and if you feel comfortable at all, even answering the question, or even being fully honest. And me being someone that you don't even know, someone that you may just see one time in your entire life, is an example of how you would treat closer people, or people in general, in connections to create intimacy, to create closeness and that connection of a new title that seems nice, of being a best friend, or being family, or being a lover. How do you feel today? I know, such an easy question. I just hyped you up for nothing. But how did you feel knowing that something that I was going to maybe possibly ask might leave you vulnerable? And even that question could just be a vulnerable question, because not everyone is ready to fully tell their entire story. It's like, you know what, I'm so glad you asked. For the past 12 years, I've been depressed and and actually this past week, so today I don't feel this way. Oh, extending your open dialogue and fully saying what's actually on your mind. But usually, what's the first thing that comes up to your mind? Good. I feel okay. Nah. Single words. Now, just you iterating those single words, or just not opening enough in dialogue, severs the connection, severs any connection that you have. Like, if I would try to create a conversation with you and I started off with that, how do you feel? And you just be like, good. Or then me, as the reciprocator of hearing the information, I'm going to be like, okay, where do I go from here? Do I just keep this one-sided conversation going? Trying to pull out the information out of you that you don't want to relinquish on your own. No one's going to force you to change your answers, and no one's going to force information out of you. If you don't want to talk about it, then kapoosh. I don't think that's a word. Then you won't ask, or they won't ask, or they won't know, or you won't know. Just by creating more words in your sentence. It doesn't have to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then they'll ask for clarification. But if they understand on some level what you're trying to say, they're going to be like, okay, that makes sense, or I understand, or you know what, I kind of feel the same way. By not limiting your responses and your answers and your questions to just yes or no questions, or open-ended questions where they end in single thought, without opening the flower of conversation of that one topic that they're trying to create. Now, what's another way that you could respond to that? Let's say someone asked me that same question. Well, how do you feel? How are you feeling today? Well, first what I would do is exactly what I'm doing right now. I would take a step back and just think for a second, giving my time, my being, permission to just wait on the answer I'm trying to give, for them to wait on me to give the answer they want to hear from me, which is a answer. And see, you think I'm going to say something profound, or something like, okay, this guy is thinking about what he's going to say, so it must be something that's important to him, or something that I need to listen more closely to, or I wonder what he's going to say. But I'm just going to tell you, I feel great today. Why? They're going to ask you why, or they may not. Give them the reason why. You want to continue your sentence with because. Because is a great transition word, because it tells you more to the story than what actually is. I could have just ended that question with or that sentence, that statement with, because is just a great transition word. And then you're going to be like, why? Why is it like that? And like, why do you feel that way? Because it gives you more information. So how do you feel today? I feel great because this morning, I woke up and I saw a beautiful butterfly. And you know what? That changed my mood the entire day. And it's up to the other person to either add on to that, which is kind of like, what's that genre that people do where like they add on to things? You know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then you're not a part of it. If you do, then you know what I'm talking about. Something with acting. But yeah, or they could ask you a question deeper, which would allow you to make more connection. And you know what? That simple add-on of because and adding reasoning or fullness. I'm trying to think of a better word. Something to bite onto or grasp onto, other than just good. I feel sad today. By adding these details, by adding meat to your conversation and to your words, then someone can actually bite it or chew it or separate it and grasp it and, really dive deeper, especially if they're interested. But limiting yourself to not being vulnerable, not being comfortable with just being open, even just a little bit. That's all it really takes. And then eventually you'll find that with this person that you've opened up a little bit, you'll be opening up a little more, a little more, a little more. Do you know how long it takes for a rose or a flower to bloom fully? It takes a long time. It's not a drastic amount of time, but it takes its time. It doesn't just pop open one day. And that should be the way you encounter your connection and the way you connect in conversation. The way you open up. It should be slowly like a flower. And every flower blooms at a different pace. I would assume because there are different flowers, but I could be wrong. When you start to do that, you no longer question yourself. All right, I don't have enough storage. I gotta get good. Where was I? By allowing yourself to be more open in conversation, to bloom at your own pace, and you no longer question if the person is saying enough or if they're not involving themselves enough or if you are saying enough, because you just are. And you'll get to a point where it's like, wow, this connection means so much to me. And why? Because I invested so much of myself into it. And they did vice versa. Which allows you to be so much closer to anyone that you do this with. I'm probably not going to make another video, so I'm just going to add it on to the one that I already had. But yeah, that's really all it is. That's really all it takes. Is the sustenance of a conversation, the meat of it, not just the bun, which is the surface level of it. Because if you really want to have these connections, if you really want to have these intimate moments with somebody, you need to create the intimacy. It's not going to just come randomly. You got to put yourself out there, put yourself in the uncomfortability or in the on a level where you possibly may be rejected, where you possibly may be rejected. Did I already say that? Yeah. So I hope that this brought you some awareness and maybe even helped you understand that what you're doing, or maybe what you're not doing, is severing the own connection that you very much want. The very thing that you're trying to attain and grasp is something that you're not even reaching for, or something that you're not even trying to attain. And it's not your fault at all. It's no one's fault. It's just how you learned how to behave in these connections and in society and in your environment. But now it's time to shift your mentality, shift your behaviors, and try to extend your reach just a little bit more. Let's say that your hand can only reach so far, your fingers are only so long. Just try to Or let's say your hand's like this. Just try to open your hand up a little bit more, and you'll see that you can reach farther. Same thing with the way you are with connections and people. Just reach a little farther. Just let yourself be prone or have the ability to be hurt, rejected, scared, uncomfortable. It's all it takes. And I know it's scary. I know it's hard. I know it's something that you cannot be used to or unaccustomed to or accustomed to. But that comes with growth. That comes with being. And that comes with having connections. And you'll notice that maybe the ones that you already invested in and you started doing these things will be so much closer to you and so much more open to you just because you were open with them or to them. And then what does that create? That creates trust. Being vulnerable to someone, either to you or to the other person, it puts them in the mind state of, wow, this person trusts me. And who doesn't want to be trusted? Who doesn't want to feel that connection of intimacy? It starts there, and it starts small. My name is Augustin. Thank you so much for being here. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe if you want to continue to see more of this content. And if you would like, which I would love to hear from you, please leave a comment down below. And this is just for clarity.